Hey guys, Indy with Ultimate Tool Reviews here. I wanted to do a quick video on batteries. So I'm sure we've all seen batteries, depending on what line of tools you're in, whether you're in DeWalt, Milwaukee, Makita, Craftsman, Cobalt, many lines of batteries out there. And I'm sure you're wondering, is it worth it to maybe have two smaller batteries or to buy one larger battery? Sometimes they can be on sale, sometimes they can be the same price, and it can be kind of hard to make up your mind at times. Do you want one larger battery, which is fantastic, better runtime? If you've seen YouTube videos comparing batteries, for the most part, a higher amp hour battery will actually put out more power to the tool that you're using. And that will mean that you can probably drill faster, you can put a leg in something faster, you can cut a board faster, and of course that's fantastic. But at the same time, for maybe the same price, maybe cheaper, you can buy two smaller size batteries, and now you get two batteries. So that gives you a number of options there too. One advantage of having a smaller size battery is, of course, the size and weight. If you look at what DeWalt's been doing with the 20 volt line they have, they came out with that Power Stack battery, and that is a pretty tiny battery, probably about the same size as the 12 volt batteries I have here. And they are super light, super small, just a fantastic battery DeWalt's working on there. And that gives you some advantages over having a larger battery. So I'm going to go over some quick pros, quick cons of having both. And depending on what you do, hopefully this can help give you some informative information here. So I've got some DeWalt 12 batteries here. I've got some Makita batteries behind me. And if we look at the two sides here, there's actually more amp hour on the right. Even though I have two batteries over here, these are 2 amp hour batteries, these are 2 amp hour batteries, and this is a 5 and a 5. So this one battery will outlast these two batteries in the same tool. So I could run maybe like a drill, I could burn this battery out, burn this battery out, and I could do the same thing with this battery over here, but I'd still have more power. I've got 1 extra amp hour on the right side here. So while you're thinking, yeah, that might be the better option to do, if these are my only batteries I have, let's say I've only got this 5 amp hour, I've only got these two. Personally, I would pick the two batteries over here. It's less power, but I've got two batteries. So I can use one, and while I'm using the other one, I can have the other one on the charger. So I can keep rotating between two batteries and never have to stop. If I'm using just one 5 amp hour battery and then it dies, I gotta wait the 45, 50 minutes or so for it to recharge, and I'm just stuck. I'm just waiting there for it to recharge. So that's one kind of pro con there to look out for. Now, depending on what type of tool that you're using these for, I've done some testing with the DeWalt batteries in some earlier videos, and it seems like the 12 volt line of tools isn't as affected by amp hour as much as the the 20 volt line of tools from Makita, DeWalt, Milwaukee, as we've seen in other videos by other YouTubers. Seems like the higher voltage you go, the more the amp hour affects the power of those tools. So when you look at like a 12 volt line, in my personal opinion, I like having the smaller batteries in 12 volt line because they're just lighter. They overall complement the 12 volt line in itself by keeping the tools smaller, lighter, and just more maneuverable. Now, nothing wrong with having a 5 amp hour battery here and there for like a recip saw, or if you're using an impact wrench a ton, these can be really handy to have. Now, of course, the 2 amp hour batteries are pretty cheap too to get with these tools. You can generally pick up a tool and two batteries for around $130, $140. Well, the 5 hour battery alone is about $80. So of course they're not too different in price there. It's not terrible. But my preference in 12 volt tools is generally just go with more smaller amp hour batteries and then be able to recharge and cycle through them faster. Not a big deal, and when I use 12 volt tools, I don't necessarily go through a ton of battery power anyways. I'm just using maybe a job that's smaller, don't necessarily need to have a bigger tool with me, or I don't need as much power anyways. But however, though, the story does change a little bit when you move into more of the 18 volt, 20 volt platforms. And just using the Makita batteries here as an example, if we look at the amp hour of these batteries, my primary battery that I use for my Makita 18 volt stuff is either a 4 or a 5 amp hour battery. And I use a lot of outdoor power tools. I've got all the Makita outdoor power tools. The only tool that I actually use the 2 amp hour battery on is going to be either my string trimmer, which is pretty rare. I don't really grab the 2 battery too much for that, but I really only use it on my hedge trimmer because the hedge trimmer takes very little power. I've got just a few hedges that I need to trim up quick, and I generally never even go through 1 bar on even a 2 ampere battery doing it in my yard. However, though, for the majority of my tools, even most of my drills that I use for Makita 18 volt, I'll still pick up a 4 or 5 ampere battery for that, just because I like having the little bit of extra juice, having that higher ampere battery gives it too. Definitely noticeable between a 2 and a 5 on like hammer drills, for example. You definitely will get more power from a 5 ampere battery there. Now, nothing wrong with having 2 ampere batteries. Makita does make some of the subcompact tools, which I've shown off in some earlier videos, and those are really handy to have with a 2 ampere battery because you can pretty much almost replace having an entire 12 volt line with just going subcompact with the smaller batteries. However, though, when it comes to just general 18 volt, 20 volt lines, I would recommend to just go with the higher amp hour batteries. Now, Makita only makes a 4, 5, and 6 amp hour as their 2 largest batteries. Now, DeWalt actually has some really big batteries now. They have a 12 amp hour, and they've got a 15 amp hour. Milwaukee has a 12 amp hour battery now. When it comes to that stuff, I would never use that on pretty much any normal tool I've got. Probably just, of course, the bigger SDS drills. If you're a pro contractor, you need to use those. They both have mowers out now. Those would be fantastic for the larger batteries. Chainsaws, of course. I've got the Makita the 36 volt, which takes 2 of these batteries, and I actually use the 4 or the 5s in there. Now, when it comes to going bigger with batteries, that's an interesting question there. And overall, I'm not really a fan of going much larger than like a 5 or a 6 amp hour. I'm probably going to do a video on this later on, but of course, heat is a big issue. I was watching some reviews on the Milwaukee chainsaw, and one of the things that I noticed a lot of guys were having issues with on that chainsaw was they would throw like an 8 or a 9 or a 12 in that chainsaw, and they would overheat the battery pretty quick. So you maybe get a minute or 2 minutes of use, your battery overheats, and you got to pull it out, either wait for it to cool down or swap to a new battery. One thing the Makita that is pretty advantageous using 2 batteries is it's spreading that thermal load between 2 batteries. So it gives you a little more, I would say, cooling effect there. And of course, I've got tons of Makita batteries. I can just keep swapping batteries non-stop. But when you have some of the more expensive batteries from DeWalt and Milwaukee, you can't necessarily swap the batteries as fast unless you have a ton of them, of course. But the heat load is shared between 2 batteries. That allows you to get better cooling, allows you to keep going a little bit longer as well. But not really going to touch into that too much right now. I want to get some more of those tools in for testing and really see how they work out. But that's what I've seen from other YouTubers showing that off. But let me know in the comments, guys, what do you think between smaller batteries versus larger batteries? What do you guys use the most? And that's just some of my thoughts. Hope this helps out if you're looking to buy some new batteries soon, which batteries you want to go for, and where you want to spend your hard-earned money. So, all right, guys, take care.